a better doctor. We got to this topic because of a talk I had with a physical therapist last week. So the physical therapist was a replacement for my usual physical therapist. Um, well, he was curious, you could tell. He was looking at my skin, which has like cigarette burns on there. Well, there are not actual cigarette burns. No, you can, yeah, there it is.
Okay.
They are scars from my skin because it doesn't heal properly. And well, he was going to realign my wrist, so he basically gets all the bones in the right place. And then he started talking about, okay, so who have you seen? So I said, well, started out for my ankle with Dr. Kaiser. Oh, he's amazing, he said. And I said, well, that's not exactly the words I wanted to use. So he looked at me and then, okay, so who else have you seen? Because you say you're hypermobile. I said, well, I went to Dr. Rietveld. Oh, Ebony Rietveld. And he said you were hypermobile. Yes, he did. So complete flabbergasted. He was completely surprised. And I said, I also saw Dr. Van Dijk. He said, who? Nick Van Dijk? I said, yes. He said, how's that possible? How did you get access to Nick Van Dijk? I said, well, he has the same thing basically when I saw him. He said, and by the way, he said that I needed two surgeries and one wasn't possible because and the other one didn't exist just yet. So I ended up with Bella van Dalen, and that's the one he didn't know. And Bella van Dalen is my life changer because Dr. Kaiser did one surgery, but he only did half of the surgery. So basically, he stitched up my ligament on my left ankle. But, it has taken me ages before he started to believe me. So I went there to see him, and I remember sitting across a panel, and it was like being judged. And there was one doctor, there was a physical therapist, and there was, I think, a second doctor over there. And by the time I still didn't use crutches because no one had told me to actually use them, or I just started using them. I don't remember. It's such a blur. I had so many meetings. And then he said, well, not he, the other doctor. Well, maybe you should take it a little bit easier. And I was like, what do you want me to do? I can't sit, I can't stand.
Hmm.
Do you want me to lie down all the time? Of course, those are the things you never have to say because a little bit later I got pneumonia and I had to lie down um,
Hmm.
for, I think, for at least 4 weeks. And it took me another few months before I could lie down flat again. But anyway, by that time, I before I got the pneumonia, he had put me in a cast, Dr. Kaiser, and then he said, see, you're healed. And I said, no, I'm not healed. You wait another 2 weeks. And then, of course, again, I had the same problem. Uh, that's when, after asking him for about 5 times, no, 10 times to please, please, please do surgery, he finally agreed to doing surgery. But, like I said, he only did half because there was also a little bone swiveling around in my foot. And that was the bigger problem. And well, that's why I got to see not just Dr. Keizer, but also Nick van Dijk. And I ended up with Bella van Dalen, who was the expert on all of it. And she actually explained to me why it couldn't be removed, but it had to be fixed. And I totally agreed with her. And now, a little over 2 years later, I can finally stand on 2 feet again. So when the physical therapist said, no, you're not hypermobile, I was like, what? What are you telling me?
Hmm.
I was like, yeah, you have there's a score like 9 points and you only live up to 5. But he didn't do any tests or movements. And so afterwards, I Instagrammed, I sent a message to my normal physical therapist and I said, I feel so pushed aside by this guy
Hmm.
and he made me be the best when it comes to theory and teaching people. But this is exactly what has happened and why I haven't been able to walk on 2 feet for 7 years, and I'm
Yeah.
still learning to walk again.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's hard. Thankfully, I've been lucky. I've have had good doctors. There's been sometimes when I've had to, I think, listen to myself more than the doctors, as far as like how I heal and what's going on with me. But for the most part, they've been pretty good. But I haven't been to an orthopedic doctor or someone for my legs in oh many years. Yeah,
Yeah, you have a lot of surgeries, right?
I've had about 30 surgeries. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So, and all surgeries, were they like experimental, or did they know what they were going to do because they had done it more often?
Well, there was two shunt surgeries, which is the head. There was one gallbladder surgery. There was one tonsils, and then the rest were just on the legs, like broken bones and stuff like that,
Hmm. Yeah,
and like hip surgeries. So they knew what they were doing.
yeah, and that makes all the
They,
difference. The surgeries they were doing
yeah.
on me were kind of experimental because normally people they tear ligaments, but on the outside of the ankle. Of course, I had it on the inside of the ankle, and on the
Hmm.
outside of the ankle, they usually do not require surgery. And having that extra little bone underneath my foot that only 7% has it, and that it starts swirling around in your foot, that's of course unheard of. So that's why they just didn't believe me, and just didn't want to think along. That's the whole thing. So so we came up with something, as in 3 reasons why um, you should keep listening to yourself, never give up,
Mm.
and when you're right, you know you're right. So don't listen to the doctor. 3 reasons why you should keep believing in yourself. So let's start with the first one. Sometimes you know you're right, but you cannot explain why. You just know that you're right, and that's probably because we know our bodies best. So, Michael, please
Yeah.
enlighten us.
It's a matter of knowing yourself. I think it's just a matter of knowing yourself and trusting yourself and believing in yourself and knowing what you can and cannot do and how you feel and what you need and express and being able to express that
Yeah, and
and being
this is the thing. When you know you need something,
mhm, and being strong enough to express that to the person. And if they say you're wrong, not backing down. That's important.
yeah, I love that. When you know you're right, don't back down,
Yeah.
even if they don't believe you.
Yeah.
So that's what means get help, document everything. Just know, like, okay, there are people who you can talk to, and you might be surprised by who it is. Might be complete strangers. Um, but I ended up, with markers and putting like circles on my foot and taking pictures. Whenever it was swollen, look, it's red here, it's swollen here. And, every time you can make it swollen, going to a doctor's appointment,
Hmm.
especially since I knew what to do in order to get the swelling down.
Yeah.
So that's why I had to document it differently. And I knew it wasn't right because otherwise it wouldn't keep swelling and it wouldn't keep hurting. So I knew that, and from day one, I knew that the little bone was actually swelling in my foot. So that was a very good reason to say, okay, I know I'm right. I just need to find someone who believes me and is capable enough of doing something about it. So the second reason we came up with is maybe we don't fit the textbook cases, but that doesn't mean that people should give up on us. And that's basically what I started my story with when I said I was dismissed by every doctor. Can't do, can't do, can't do, won't do, doesn't exist. Phew. Until, of course, I met Bella van Dalen, and up till this day. Uh-oh. Thank you, life. There you
Don't know
are
what happened.
again. We just explained the first reason, which is about sometimes you don't know why, but you know your body, and as a result, I'm right. So
Yeah.
we were going to the second reason. Even if you don't fit the textbook cases, that doesn't mean professionals should give up on us. So basically, because I wanted the textbook case, um, they didn't believe it. They didn't believe me. And when they did believe me, they said, I can't do it, can't do it, can't do it, won't do it, can't do it. It's too expensive. I think I heard that one too. Uh, so, and
Yeah.
last but not least, I found someone, an amazing woman. And, you know, most doctors they actually they look like they're supposed to look, but this one was with the gray white curls. She was sort of blonde with the big cowboy boots, all colorful, and well, and that's exactly who she was. She was a very expressive one, so I loved her. um
I
so
think
I'm
it's
not sure
hard.
because you said you had about 30.
Around 30 surgeries,
Sorry.
yeah. I've had about around 30 surgeries.
Yeah. So would you have said that because you didn't say they were experimental, so experimental surgeries, they pretty much knew what they were going to do. They were textbook cases, right?
Yeah, they all knew what they were doing because it was just basically mostly broken bones.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and I guess that's when you're in luck, and of course when it's new, um, yeah, and I mean, if they say I can't promise you anything, that's good enough. I mean, I was okay with her saying I cannot promise you that you will, but I knew based on her background, and what she was explaining to me, that I knew that she did understand me even though it was experimental.
Yeah.
So that was a pretty good one. So the third reason is, and I think this is the most important one, is simply freedom of movement. And it's about not being willing to give in as long as you know that not everything has been done. And let's put into consideration that technology has changed over the years. I mean, a lot of technology has changed. So even if they weren't able to do things like a decade or 2 decades ago, you might want to go back to a professional and see what they have and what they know right now. It's just like with my knees right now. I should have like a knee replacement probably on my left knee. And they're saying, well, let's not, because we know every 15 years you should have to get a new one. But you can also use this brace, which basically what I had been asking for like 3 decades. But now I
Yeah.
found a doctor who was willing to. So let's talk about freedom of movement, because I think that's one of the most important things why we cannot ever give up.
Well, yeah, that's very important because if I can't like my legs are already like immobile, so if I can't move my arms and I can't get from place to place, I'm pretty screwed, and then life would be a lot harder than it is. I mean, my life isn't hard, but if I wasn't able to get from place to place, and if my like let's say if my wheelchair broke, which my brakes have, I just got my brakes fixed like a couple weeks ago, and I was without them for like 2 months. So if that doesn't work, it becomes harder to go places and do things because if you have no brakes and you're on a hill, you you're kind of screwed and you have to hold on to the wheels for however long. So movement when you're in a wheelchair is even more uh, prevalent and more important and more like you have to think about it more. You have to consider what you cannot do more. So I think being mobile and being able to move, you have to be forceful with the doctors about what you can and cannot do and what you are willing to do and willing not to do.
Yeah, yeah, that's so true. And it's one of those things like with the breaks. Do people believe you instantly, or do they brush it off? Oh, it won't be that bad. All those kind of things. And what people don't realize is, um, I don't know, do you wear gloves when you are using your
Should
wheelchair?
I should sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, but I should because my hands get dirtier than I like them to, and I need to wash them. And uh, it my fingers might get caught in the spokes, and then nails get like ripped off. So I should wear more gloves, more. Yeah,
Okay, I didn't know about the letter, but then I usually have short nails. So, but yeah, and it's like what you said when you need to break those wheels yourself. It actually it's like burn marks on your hands. So usually get callus,
oh, yeah.
apart from the dirt.
My hands are calloused, and when I play basketball, I've like jammed every single one of my fingers, and I sprained one. There was one when I basically ripped skin off. So yeah, my fingers have gotten through a lot as far as with
Yeah,
the.
and it's also those little things that um, sometimes you need to talk to other people. Like, what do you do? Do you have that same problem, and how do you fix it?
Yeah,
And that's when we get back to the sport that because you can't ask what you don't know, basically.
yeah, true. You got to think about
Yeah,
when you have to think about what you need and what are the options of what you can have that are out there.
yeah, yeah. That's so true, and that's even when you do not know where to go, that shouldn't stop you from keeping on searching, and especially now with Google and YouTube,
Hmm.
there's so much more information available nowadays
Yeah.
that it's so important to keep on going, keep on searching, never give up.
Oh yeah.
So
You have to always like look for different answers and uh, reach out and talk to people that you trust and ask different questions of things that other people might know or other people might have gone through, so that they can figure out so that they know the answers they can give them to you.
yeah, that's true.
Your journey easier.
Yeah, it's learning from other people's experiences,
Yeah, yeah, that's
and
what
and
it is.
that's why I was so basically pissed off because this guy was from the books. This physical therapist is someone who obviously, he teaches other people, he goes to seminars, he knew all those people out there. And
Yeah.
that's probably why he was surprised because here there was someone, uh,
Mm.
and she had seen all those doctors he knew from being on stage
Mm.
and telling stories. And I was not impressed by them. And
Yeah,
not
okay,
because of, sorry?
I get it. No, I get it. Yeah.
Yeah, and not because they didn't know what they were talking about, but because they didn't make any time to go that little step beyond what they knew, and to express a little bit different, maybe look for different solutions. It's what like I don't have the time, I don't want to do this. Maybe it was too risky for them because they knew the normal surgeries. And that's why I was actually quite stunned that the one who did the one surgery and who was actually trained by Nick van Dijk was the one who did fix me.
Hmm.
And also, it's the same with physical therapists because I've had a lot. And this one knew exactly what I was talking about because his son actually had a similar problem.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
with his ankle, so he knew what I needed, and that was good. Whereas other doctors, and I explained this to him, they wanted me to do stability exercises. Well, you can't do stability exercises when the whole structure is falling apart. I mean, yeah, let's face it, that's the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
and so that hurt quite a lot, I have to say. But and every week still I'll throw a ball, and we go backwards and forwards, and it's the best stability exercise one can think of. And also, I'm very glad that I got to do Tai Chi at some point. I love doing Tai Chi, which is of course also about the stability exercises. But it's going to be a lot easier once I have those knee braces because then I can twist around in every corner that's
Yeah.
possible.
Hmm.
So
I think doctors tend to, a lot of doctors tend to just look for the surface solution because they have so many people that they have to treat that they go for the first thing that they make that might fix the problem to just get them whoever they're treating the soonest solution possible, whether it's right or wrong. I think that
yeah.
might have something to do with it.
Well, when I had those problems with my knee, the first surgeon I went to, he said, "Yeah, we can do surgery," but he wanted to do something, and actually, what I said is, "Well, I need multiple ones," and of course, the other ones were dismissed. And when I went to the second surgeon and I said, well, I don't feel very good. When he says he wants to do the surgery and he wants to cut in my meniscus, I believe that's not good for the quality. And that's going to harm the joint in the long run. And he said, yeah, you're right. It's going to. Because all the weight from my upper body, including the upper leg, is going to rest
Mm-hmm.
on the knee joint.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and that's why second opinions are so important. So it's a little bit strange to say don't listen to your doctor, but yeah, and
Yeah, you should listen to them to a point. Like if it goes against what you're thinking, just don't not listen to him or don't um, be mean to him or nasty. Just challenge him and ask him, would this be the right thing, or would this be the right thing, or am I wrong? Just like have a conversation and have a discussion and ask questions and get answers, and because he, he may be right, he may be wrong. He is the one who went through.
I like what he said about challenging doctor. Just keep asking questions because what I hate more than ever is when we basically say like we know what's right because we found all the information on the internet. That's what they don't like. And we never should do it. And I love what you said about challenging doctors. And I just said, when we say to doctors that we know it all because we've been on the internet, that's what they really hate. Because, of
Mhm.
course, they went to medical school for at least 8 years. So we can never say, oh, we looked on the internet and we found the answer. But the challenging what you're doing, what you're talking about, asking questions,
I mean,
elaborate on that one.
they went to school, so they know more than you do, but you know more about yourself than they do. So it's not a matter of, I don't think, being mean or being nasty or not doing what they say. It's just a matter of challenging them, and standing up for yourself and being your own advocate
Yes.
and asking questions, getting answers, having a discussion, and figuring out what's best for you. That's the best you can do.
Yeah, and it's true because we know our body, and that's why I started using all those markers
Yeah.
and taking those pictures. Like, okay, this is what I see, and I can't let you know how I feel, but you can see that it's swollen. You can see it's red, and this is what I basically did. And that's when they get you like, oh, hang on. Oh, if she's doing this, that's happened. And that's when they start to understand what's going on.
Hmm.
And of course, with Bella Van Dalen, she knew it almost instantly, uh, basically from the story which I had explained to her. But I was like 4 years later since it had happened, so I knew a lot more about what to explain.
Yeah.
and that's probably what made the difference. So yes, I agree. We have to be respectful to the doctors because they are the ones who eventually are the ones who are uh, helping us.
Yeah.
But you can still be respectful and ask questions and explain like, okay, this is what I'm feeling.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Of course. I mean, you, being respectful doesn't
And
letting them make all the decisions. Can you hear me? Hello, Stephanie.
no, 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 no. I got cut off hearing you when you say being respectful, and
Uh,
then it stopped.
Being respectful doesn't mean just kowtowing to the doctor and letting them make all the decisions and not having a say. I mean, you can you can have them be the final say and still be respectful and talk for yourself and express yourself and tell them what you think you need or what you want.
Yeah, yeah, and that's always the need and the want. That's always a little bit hard when they don't have enough to work with. I remember one of the colleagues of Bella van Dalen. She had asked her for a second opinion. She said, "Yeah, I understand that something is wrong, and I see a number of things I could do with your foot, but I'm not going to do surgery just for the purpose of surgery because I still don't understand what you need from me, and I
Hmm.
can see it." And I
Yeah.
I could respect that opinion. It was honest, but I also felt dismissed. So I was livid the moment I left her office. Like, how is this possible? And of course, goal would have been that they would have looked at the MRI and the X-rays together, but because of holiday purposes, they couldn't. So and this is probably the most important thing that I decided to go back and say, I need that appointment with Dr. Van Dalen once more. So stand your ground. If anything, I would like to get across, it's like stand your ground when you know you are right, even though you don't know how to explain it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You have to stand up for yourself and stand your ground and don't back down. Even if you might be wrong, don't back down because if you don't back down and you have a discussion and you ask questions and you get your answers, they will show you why you're wrong,
Yes,
but it'll guide
yes.
to get your thought across.
Yeah, that's so true. Because when I talked to Dr. Van Dalen, she explained to me why that bone could not be removed. And when she explained it to me, I was immediately, oh yeah, I get what you're saying. But she also had a different solution, and I totally agreed with that one.
Yeah, yeah. They have you might have different opinions come together, but have different angles to come at it with. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's so true. That's so true. And as for standing your ground and coming up with different solutions, I remember that they wanted me to go to a rehab facility. And I was actually pretty mad because they wanted me to learn to deal with the pain.
Hmm.
And I knew how to deal with the pain. That's what I told them. I said, I know that I need to put my foot up and I need to know, I know what I need to do in order to diminish the pain.
Hmm.
And here's the thing, and that's what Dr. Van Dalen also said to me. She said, well, when you have chronic pain and you have it for a number of years, that's when your nerve system gets rewired. And I know that's to be true. They did this experiment on the butterfly of all
Hmm.
um, animals. And even though they had taken away the source of the pain, the butterfly apparently still felt the pain. And that's why she said, I cannot promise you, but because you said you also had pain-free episodes, I I dare to do the surgery. And it's
Mm.
true. And I don't know how it works, but probably because I've been living with this body for my entire life, I know when not to do things and when to do certain things. But I do say this, it's when people do not believe me, that's when I start to do things which shouldn't be done by me, and which, because I feel like I'm not being believed, and that you know, don't be a, well, what, a pussy for all purposes, and just
Mm-hmm.
go and do it and don't complain. That's the way I always feel, and that's make is making me do the things I shouldn't be doing. So have you ever felt like people were forcing you into a direction you know you shouldn't go?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've yeah, I felt like that before. That's when you just stand up for yourself, speak out for yourself, and either tell them how you feel or just say okay and then do what you want,
Hmm.
which can work too. It's
Yeah,
however you feel.
yeah,
Because
and of course they're doing what they want. I did that, with that first surgeon. When he said, "Well, I want to put you in cast," yeah, sure, put me in cast. And here was the thing. At some point, I would use cast braces all the time because normal braces wouldn't work. And the other doctors started to complain. They said, "You can't keep coming to us for cast brace." And I said, "Well, if you've got a different solution, I'm willing to listen."
hmm
But normal braces weren't equipped to help me with what I needed.
yeah,
So that's what made it so difficult. So is there something you would like to add?
talk when you're talking to the doctor when you first meet them, just get a feeling. Try to get a feeling for them then about like how do you mesh well. Um, do they understand you? Um, do they know your concerns, your problems? Do you think you're going to like um, lock horns and argue with them as your journey goes on? And you have to think about that in the future if you're going to keep them or if you're going to just have be willing to have that conversation and those arguments and those discussions and to come to a uh, conclusion equally between the two of you that is best for you because ultimately that's what's most important.
Yeah, that's true. So you have to come to a solution which you agree on the both of you. But the other thing you said prior to that is you might have to do with that same doctor for a longer period of time.
Well, yeah, I mean it depends on how long you've been going to try and find a doctor and whether you want to keep going or whether you just want to work through your differences or how your feelings with that doctor. Because you
Hmm.
can always get a new doctor, but it could take time.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Um, and maybe this is something for a different life. But a lot of people, they look for the doctor that's closest and they can go to the quickest and the
Yeah.
easiest. And usually I ask around, do you know a good one?
hmm
Um, but I've learned to actually explore the internet and see what do they know. So why would they understand me based on what they've experienced or basically their specialization, what
hmm
they're specialized in?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's important to have a discussion with them prior to like saying, okay, you're gonna be my doctor, so you can be on at least somewhat of the same page, so
Yeah.
that you eventually come together more, or just be on the same page out the gate. So I think it's important to have a discussion and tell them your fears and your thoughts and your feelings and what you're going through, so that they can help you in any way they can.
And that's it. And with like the last surgeon I went to for my knee, he had experienced the same thing, so he knew what I was talking about. He knew my frustration,
Yeah,
and and he could match it, of course, um, with his knowledge. And of course, this was relatively easy. What I had, it's not relatively easy fixed, but it's not uncommon. So
yeah,
he knew what was going on.
yeah,
So that was good. And as
yeah,
Michael said, this is not about not being respectful. Always be respectful because you never know when you'll get to talk to them again. But more importantly, you want to ask the questions, share your experiences, and challenge them. And if there's one thing I really love about what you said, it's challenge them and also know what they're capable of. Talk to them before you make any decision,
yeah,
and yeah, and that's do your research.
yeah.
It's unfortunate that I have to say so, but don't go to the one who does it the fastest, who has the little amount, the smallest amount of waiting time. But check, check with
Yeah.
others.
Yeah. Yeah. It's important to not just jump on the first one because you might be screwing yourself.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a very good one, and and fortunately, there are several doctors in the whole world, and at some point, I would actually have gone abroad if I hadn't found Bella van Dalen. I would have gone abroad, and I wouldn't have been surprised if I had ended up in the US. But fortunately, I found one here in the Netherlands, and
That's
yes,
good.
it took me over an hour driving just to get there, but
Mhm.
it was well worth it.
That's good.
We're going to see you again next week. And if you
Yeah.
have something you want to talk about, just let us know. Comment. You can
Yeah.
find
If
this
you
video
want
on
us to
YouTube
do a
as well.
show, email me or Lexi.
Yes. Or just send a message, whatever is more convenient. But find us
Yeah.
because we are here for you.
Yeah. Okay.
You may have noticed we are starting a little bit late, as in 50 minutes later than usual, and I'm to blame for that. I fell asleep. It's just as simple as that. I see circles. So, are you there? No, no, still frozen, still frozen. Oops. Yeah, that's Instagram. Are you there again, Michael? Uh-oh, Michael's frozen. This is going to be an interesting life. And you're still freezing up? Oh no. Hey, there you are again.
I know what happened.
So, so, for those who have been watching, we have been talking about why not to listen to your doctor, why not to listen to doctors, and trust your own instincts, because basically you are living with your body for your entire life. But then, of course, you need to be able to express and explain to the doctors what it is you want and need. We'll be
You.
back next week, and then
Yeah.
hopefully we'll be there at 5 p.m. Pacific time,
Yeah. Yeah.
8,
I thought.
8 Eastern. It's daylight time right now, right? So it's Pacific
It's
daylight time. That's our goal, but sometimes things go a little bit
yeah.
differently.